So yesterday I did a video where I talked about why Raw Toonage wasn't on Disney Plus yet. And it got me thinking about the one question I'm sure a lot of people are wondering about. Why are so many fans curious about why Raw Toonage isn't on Disney Plus? Well, it's real simple. The reason they're curious about, Raw Toonage's whereabouts, especially when it comes to Disney Plus, is due to the fact that Raw Toonage is one of those series that's kind of like once in a lifetime. It's one of those series that, a certain amount of episodes are ordered for just one season, and it's basically brought in to establish characters that are going to be spun off into their own shows later on. Thus by doing so, it gets people familiar with those characters so that when those shows they get spun off on, become a reality, they'll know who the character is and what they're about, and those and other characters that might be associated with them. So, for example, when it comes to Bonkers, originally Bonkers started in a theatrical short, Pedal to the Metal, which was before the Three Ninjas, I think, second movie. And then that short got incorporated into Raw Toonage as part of the He's Bonkers shorts. And by, being part of Raw Toonage through the He's Bonkers shorts, and even hosting an episode himself, people got to know who Bonkers was. They got to know his world. They got to know the characters that he's friends with. They got to know all about the character. The same with Marsupilami. And here's the thing about that. Marsupilami was not an original Disney character. He was an already established Belgium IP character that Disney had licensed out to create new animated shorts around to be part of Raw Toonage, and then eventually spin off into his own show of the same name as the character itself, Marsupilami. And that's all. And guess what? The Bonkers show that was shown in a sneak peek on Disney Channel, and then the Marsupilami series that came out later that year, at the same time the Bonkers show ended up in syndication, was all because of the start in Raw Toonage, which is why a lot of people, weren't asking so many questions back then as to who these characters were, because they knew who they were. They had seen them previously, and they were happy that they were getting their own shows and being expanded on within these shows. But again, people wonder why Raw Toonage is such a big deal to a lot of fans. Why they're so curious as to its whereabouts. And it's not. And here's the thing: it's more than just the fact that Raw Toonage spun the likes of Marsupilami and Bonkers into their own shows. Gave them that foothold, that foundation, for people to get to know who they were in the world and the characters associated with them. But also, it served as being exactly what a variety show is always meant to be. A place where you got to see different characters hosting, an episode every week. Kind of very similar to Saturday Night Live, where, they would try to have a celebrity host, every week for an episode of that show on Saturday night. And that's the kind of the formula they were going with here. I mean, you take a look at the fact that they had characters like, Jitter's a dog and Bonkers from the He's Bonkers shorts, hosting, several episodes. Marsupilami himself doing one. And then you had the likes of Sebastian from the Little Mermaid movie and series. You had Launchpad and Scrooge McDuck from DuckTales, Darkwing Duck. You had Don Carnage from Tailspin. You had Goslin from Darkwing Duck. You had Ludwig von Drake, Goofy. You had all these different characters hosting episodes of Raw Toonage. And why? Why were they hosting them? To get the show over, as well as to get the new characters that were associated with Raw Toonage, like Bonkers, like Marsupilami. They were there to get those characters over along with the show. And the show itself was unique in its way, in its own unique concept, if you will, because like any variety show, besides the He's Bonkers and Marsupilami shorts that it also had different short segments, like Totally Tasteless Video, which was a unique one unto a lot of people. And sometimes they had other segments as well. But overall, the one thing that made it so unique when it came to Raw Toonage was the fact that when you had the various characters hosting the episodes It wasn't just them hosting episodes and it leads, hosting the episode, and then every segment led into another segment, another host segment, I should say, leading into something else. As far as Raw Tunage was concerned, basically they also had a story within the show. They had a story within the episode. Sebastian had a story trying to get away from Chef Louis. Launchpad had a story in a sense. Goslin had a story in a sense. Don Carnage had a story in a sense. Scrooge McDuck, Marsupilami, Bonkers. They all had a story to go along with the hosting duties that they were doing. And there was another thing too about Raw Tunage that was making a lot of people curious and tuning in and wanting to know more about it, especially nowadays from a behind the scenes perspective. And that was the addition in the intro of Webby from the original DuckTales. It's like, why is she there if she never had a segment or she never had a hosting duty? Well, I think it's because of the fact that, according to rumors, they were plans for one more episode that would have included her, but they fell through the cracks. And by hearing that rumor and that speculation of what possibly was, but then, tossed aside, it got people wondering, wait a minute, was there more episodes planned for Raw Tunage? Because when you look at the structure of the series itself and how it was trying to get all these characters over and established, before, let's say, being spun off into their own shows, like I said, Bonkers and Marsupilami were, the possibilities were there. I mean, obviously, if you look in the intro, you could tell that maybe Fawn had more to her than just, being as she was, although her character did develop over time through Raw Tunage and the Bonkers show. It did show that she possibly had more to her. Like maybe she was going to host an episode of Raw Tunage, but that got cut. That got, dropped, if you will, during development. I mean, all these, possibilities of what could have been, and all because one of the curious factors that got fans, behind Raw Tunage and wanting to know more about it and wanting to see it again because of, seeing the the one area, the one, program foundation where a lot of the characters they came to know and love genocide from or originated from, to learn more about it and to see it, as it once was. This is why fans are so curious about why it's not on Disney Plus. And this is why they're also curious as to wanting to know when, if ever, it's going to be there. Because they want to see, like I say, they want to see where characters like Bonkers originate from, where the Marsupilami character became a household name on the western side of the world here in the US and stuff like that. They want to learn more. They want to see all these other established character IPs of Disney Afternoon alumni, outside of the world, outside of the realm, doing these hosting jobs and stuff. So, in closing, that's basically why fans are so curious about Raw Tunage and why they want to see more about it. They want to see it on Disney Plus. That way they could see the origins of where these characters, came from originally, as well as it gives them a chance to learn more about its background and in the long run as well. So that's all I'm going to say on it, though, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Sorry if I rambled a bit. Take care, stay safe, get vaccinated, and I'm out.